I am live. Good morning. It is Friday morning, May the 3rd, and we are coming to the very end now of Lord of the Horizon, and I had a bit of problems with draining batteries. So this last chapter, Land of Free People, chapter 11, is the third reading of this now. I'm sorry, but sometimes it's best to stop and start again. This was a conversation which Ra-Ab is the life Joan Grant lives in this incarnation. It plays in ancient Egypt, and is having a conversation. Amenemhet, the Pharaoh, present Pharaoh, is preparing for his time when he is leaving this earth and needs to have a successor, which his son Senusert is going to be. And this is a conversation. And in that discourse, perhaps more than in any other, Royden gave the secret of the watchers who in peace led men to the horizon. For several years you were in any danger of becoming a tyrant. Fear had been sent into exile. At first all we could do was to remove physical fear, to convince our people that it was a fact, not only a promise, that there would be no whipmen in Egypt. Convince them that we had banished famine and corrupt officials and injustice and all the other fears which for centuries they had suffered. But then we gave them something much more vital to their happiness. They were no longer afraid of themselves, and so they had no reason to fear any false authority, for unless they suffered a change of heart, it could never again arise amongst men. Which is the reason why, my friend, I told you that you would have to go to a place like Babylon before you could hope to be a tyrant. My statement, I assure you, was not intended as a reflection on the strength of your will or the scope of your influence. A country or a nome or a village is only an aggregate of individuals, just as the individual is an aggregate of many lives of experience. The weapon given into the hands of any tyrant is the accumulated fear which people feel for themselves. I agree that I feared myself, said Amenemhet, but surely mine was an extraordinary case? Extraordinary only in that it took a dramatic form. It is not given to all of us to be haunted by the mummy of a Babylonian. Yet under the old rule nearly everyone was haunted by something almost as unpleasant. Unseen guests sat at many tables, and in each case hatred had opened the door for them to enter. If husband and wife are forced to live together when affection no longer justifies their close companionship, is it surprising that hatred enters their house? Each thinks that the other cannot see this unseen guest. Each thinks in his heart, it is I who have brought it here. Yet to conceal this thought from themselves, they say in a much louder voice, I am innocent. How pitiful I am that I have to live with this monster who has so terrible a familiar. They have made me their prisoner, and I cannot leave, for it would not be according to custom. You feared your unseen guest, Amenemhet. Do you blame others for fearing theirs? Their cure is the same as your own, affection. For only in that name does Ra rise up to bid Set go once more to exile. Your people, Amenemhet, have learned to love themselves, and so they are free to love their fellows. They no longer feel guilty if they differ from their parents. They no longer feel guilty if they find no link of true affection with any member of their family. They no longer feel guilty when the link between husband and wife ceases to be strong enough to justify them in continuing to share the same house. Nor do they feel guilty if they were poor or if they are rich. They do not feel guilty if they are sick, for in the temples of our time they find healing, both for the body and for the soul. Nor do they feel guilty to be in health when others are in pain. They do not feel guilty when they are idle or when they are working, for they know that a measure of both is necessary for contentment. They do not feel guilty because they are young, for they know that wisdom cannot be measured in earth years. Nor do they feel guilty when they are old, for they know that the strength of the spirit cannot be judged by the muscles of a man's arm. Greater than all these, Amenemhet, your people have learned that it is most pleasing to the gods when men are happy, and in learning this they have lost the most terrible of all guilt. Now they can turn their faces to the sky and laugh and bless the day when they were born into Egypt, this Egypt which can give no allegiance to a tyrant, while her people remember they are free. And I shall read the epilogue. Word that Roiden was dying travelled throughout Egypt, from the north and from the south, from beyond the eastern cliffs and from the great desert. A multitude who loved him came to the place where he would bid farewell to earth. According to his wish, no tomb had been prepared for Roiden. He had said, "Man is born of fire and of water. On a pyre of sweet woods to the body which has been my faithful servant shall be consumed, and my dust be given to the river. My only stele shall be the memory of me in men's hearts. Instead of lamentation there shall be rejoicing during the 40 days. Do you not rejoice when the bird with the broken wing can fly, when the exile returns to his home, when the sick are healed? Even so shall you share my joy. Put garlands in your homes and unseal the wine of festival. Let the dancers be subtle as the reed, and the strings of harps ripple like silver water. Roiden, your friend, wishes you to share his joy. But if you weep, then will the fields of Ra be misty with your tears and Roiden's sorrow." Even in the last hours his body did not mask his spirit. To those of us who were with him he spoke as a traveller setting forth to a journey long familiar, a forerunner who went to prepare the place of our meeting. He died at sunset. His last words were for Hanuk and Nekht, who stood together at the bed place. "I am greatly honored in my sons. Hanuk, who carried the torch I kindled and cleansed the 2 lands from corruption. Nekht, my son in Horus, who, before the clouds which light Ra on his journey have faded from this evening sky, leaving the stars as his sentinel of the night, will have become Lord of the horizon." Then he raised his head to smile at all of us, saying, "Because of you, I am well content. I go forward to the fields of Ra in peace." Well, that was a wonderful book by Joan Marshall Grant. She was an amazing writer of her own far memories, and this book was published in 1943 and is inscribed "With love to my mother."